Ubisoft saw its stock price plummet over 12% in the last 5 days following its latest quarterly report, which saw its net bookings actually exceed what the company had predicted it would make. However, those net bookings are still way lower than what analysts had expected Ubisoft to make at the beginning of the year. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And you can see right here, Ubisoft's stock price dropped like a rock, 12 percentage points over the last 5 days, following its first quarterly report on July 18. In fact, the stock is actually down 14.73% over the year for year to date. If you go back an entire year, the stock is down 31.53%. And then if you go back the past 5 years, it's actually down 74.73%. This is not a healthy company at all. Things are getting worse for them. Their stock price is continually declining month over month here, year over year. It is not looking good for them. And as I said, this is despite them actually exceeding their sales goals for the quarter. So the company actually had net bookings of 290 million euros, or around $315.76 million. This exceeded the company's prediction of 275 million euros, or $299 million. That's pretty good. They did a pretty good job there of exceeding that. However, this is down from what analysts originally expected them to do in the first quarter. So following the company's fourth quarter earnings report, Bloomberg's Daniel Zwijik, this was like in February, I think, or May, claimed that analysts were expecting, quote, an average estimate of 376 million euros for the first quarter. That's about $408.7 million. That means the net bookings and sales are 22% lower than what analysts initially expected. That 190 million euros is 22% lower than the 376 million euros they were actually expecting. It's not good. Or 290 million, excuse me. I was like 190 million. That's a little more than 22%. Yes, 290 million. So that's why I think we're seeing stock price massively drop like that, over 12 percentage points there since this earnings report came out. And this is with their big release, X Defiant, right? X Defiant came out in the first quarter. It's their free-to-play game, their game as a service, and clearly maybe not doing as well as what Ubisoft actually expected, or originally expected, or what analysts expected it to do. So this is what Ubisoft co-founder and CEO Yves Guillemot said. He touted the earnings. He says, in the selective market, we delivered a solid start to the year with net bookings above target, reaffirming that we are on the right track. The quarter notably saw the launch of X Defiant that is off to an encouraging start as we continue to grow the audience at a steady pace and plan a quarterly roadmap of content that will allow us to firmly establish the game over time. Meaning it has not been firmly established. And it's probably not where they want it to be. That doesn't really seem that encouraging to me. That does not seem encouraging at all. He continued, said, we also held Ubisoft Forward. That is always a key event for our teams and players, during which we showcase content that is very much aligned with our strategic focus on our two key verticals, open world adventures and games as a service native experiences. The gameplay we presented for our two highly anticipated upcoming premium titles, Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows, was not only praised by players and critics alike, but also highlighted the cutting-edge capabilities of our game engines. I'm not sure if it's being praised by players. There is a lot of controversy around both of those games. There's actually a boycott happening in Japan over Assassin's Creed Shadows due to the fact that Ubisoft is claiming that the game is attempting to teach people actual historical facts despite it being fiction. So Last I checked, that boycott had almost 80,000 signatures on the petition. And there's massive amounts of players here in the West that have no interest in playing the game at all due to this kind of historical revisionism and push of DEI agenda. The same goes with Star Wars Outlaws. It's a Star Wars branded game as well. It's already a mark against it. The Star Wars brand is significantly deteriorated with Lucasfilm, Walt Disney Company in charge over the past, decade. Nevertheless, Guillemot concluded saying, we also presented a strong pipeline of content that will continue feeding our live titles. As we progress through fiscal year 25, all our efforts are focused on successfully launching our promising new releases and positioning them as long-lasting value drivers for Ubisoft while continuing the transformation of our organization. We are excited about the future and confident in the sustained progress of our turnaround throughout the year. I really think this upcoming quarter is going to be a huge signal on whether or not they've actually turned it around with the release of Star Wars Outlaws. And then the third quarter is Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think those are two big quarters for Ubisoft, and a lot is riding on them. In fact, the company says that they expect to have net bookings of around 500 million euros or $544.5 million for the second quarter. That is when Star Wars Outlaws releases at the end of that quarter, or I guess it's in the middle of the quarter because it releases, I think, in August. And that third quarter for Ubisoft is July, August, September, or second quarter. That's the second quarter. So a lot riding on Star Wars Outlaws and I think Assassin's Creed Shadows here. And that's a big risk because there is a lot of negative player sentiment around those games. Me being one of those people expressing negative sentiment. So there is another factor aside from the fact that I think those net bookings aren't to where analysts want them to be. Again, 22% decline from what analysts were expecting at the beginning of the year for the first quarter. They were expecting 375 million around there euros, I think. We said 376 million euros, and then said they got 290 million, 22% decline. But another factor is they've actually delayed the release of two upcoming mobile games, Rainbow Six Mobile and The Division Resurgence. This is what the company said. Rainbow Six Mobile and The Division Resurgence are no longer expected in fiscal year 25, as the teams are taking the necessary time to ensure that these experiences deliver on expectations with optimized KPIs in the context of a demanding yet very large market. So that doesn't seem reassuring either. It looks like they're reassessing these games, potentially trying to reassess how they are monetized, etc., before they release them to the market. So that could be a reason too that investors have decided to sell stock, why the stock price has significantly declined over 12 percentage points in the last 5 days. But none of this is good for Ubisoft. And it's all kind of going according to plan, though. No AAA gaming purchases for 2 years. Make these companies pay. Make them realize that investing in DEI, pushing woke ideology does not pay. It leads to decrease in sales, leads to players abandoning your company. So we'll see what happens. I think, like I said, second quarter with Star Wars Outlaw sales will be very telling. And then Assassin's Creed Shadow sales, I think, is an even bigger tell, because that's the really big game that Ubisoft, I think, is really banking on, is Assassin's Creed Shadows. If you go to their website, it is the game that they have plastered all over. That's the one that they really want you to purchase. And I think that's the game that has the bigger controversy with the historical revisionism and kind of all the lies that they've been telling in order to try and sell the game, sell the DEI agenda that they have put in it. But let me know what you guys make of this. What do you make of Ubisoft stock absolutely dropping over 12%, despite it technically exceeding their sales that they had, that they significantly lowered at the beginning of this year? Let me know what you guys make of this in the comments below. Also, hit that like button if you appreciate this, videos like this. Let more people see this. But let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.